All right. Here we are. It's May, and we're back for another Drinks Professionals Network. So now we're at, I think this is our 14th consecutive month. That's great. And I want to, we've got a few new faces, or at least some people who have maybe been here once. And we've got a number of others who have signed up but aren't here yet. So hopefully they'll join. And it's been interesting. I had a very interesting experience yesterday where I got a request for a meeting from someone who had watched the replay of the last Drinks Professionals Network and was intrigued by the topics that were being discussed and wanted to, and that topic was about shortages of, the supply of aged product and the supply of new fill.
Where did they see the replay? Like
it's on the website, and it was linked to the email that was reminding people about this next one. In fact, actually, there was a picture of Sherman's face in the email because it was a screenshot, and it was because he opened last month talking about the connection that he had made and the value of that. So I thought it was pretty interesting that someone took the time to watch the entire recording, which I didn't know that anyone ever did, but
that was great. Crazy.
Yeah, and he wanted to join, but he couldn't today. But I did also notice that several other people that I've have reached out to me recently have signed up, so that's great. And hello, Justin. Welcome, Justin. And I'm not sure who Pawn Care Teacher is.
Nope, Steve Corman from Venus Fizz House.
All right, with a secret alias. All right. Well, that's great. I wanted to. So let's first of all, I want to just open it up and say, does anyone have a hot topic that they want to kick off with before we do our round the horn?
Yeah, I
Carrie does.
Nope, good. Let Point Care Teacher start. He's named.
Okay.
I can. On a daily basis, we're getting emails. Like, anyone have the paper store in your area where you live?
Yeah.
Because they have over 100 stores.
Yeah.
They're going to be carrying our products. The email came yesterday, so that's a process.
The paper store?
The paper store.
So they're your bitters?
Probably our infusions. We have two different sizes of infusions, like I just discussed last month, and possibly my itty bitters, possibly. So that's where we are. We're going to start the discussion next week with them, and we're getting emails almost every day about places that want our product line. It's crazy.
Awesome.
Congratulations. I told you about Bespoke Post.
Yeah.
It'll be probably in the kits in June, because I didn't see the advertisements for May. So in June, we'll see our product in on national TV.
So in your case, and this just didn't dawn on me till now, you're not restricted with all of the things that the rest of us are.
That's
in
right.
terms of three-tier system, even though there's alcohol in that product. It's
bitters, not. No. Bitters are food. It's a food item nationally because vanilla extract is 40% alcohol, and McCormick's lobbying and Congress will always have that as a food. So bitters, a kid could go into your grocery store and buy Angostura off the shelf.
Hang on. Only some bitters are food. If they're classified as non-potable and they go through the TTB test,
that's right.
Because an Amaro or a bitter, like I have 3 potable bitters that are alcohol.
You cannot, but Amaro or Amari.
But even some of your bitters companies have chosen to be potable, and they're only able to be sold in liquor stores. It's only some bitters that are classified by TTB as non-potable. And Angostura is one, yours or others.
That's right.
So for everybody else, do not assume if you make a bitter, you can sell it in a grocery store. It's got to be approved by TTB, and you've got to go through a test.
Agreed. I totally agree. My bitters are controlled by tgb.gov. Absolutely, because they're all over the country now. So I will shut up now and.
Well, first of all, congratulations. That's great. Good,
Thank you,
good
thank you, thank you.
for you.
Good.
Let's Paul, whose cocktail of the day, I believe, was a Prohibition thing I saw on the back wall.
That was for the kids. That's for the kids.
All right, so tell us a
We get
little,
a lot of
give a
families in
little,
here.
give a
I'm
self
down and out.
intro.
Yeah, my name is Paul Menta. Yeah, my name is Paul Menta. I'm in Key West, Florida. I have a distillery down here, pretty much based on making rum. We make 11 different flavors of rum. You know, a little bit differently than I think, you know, most of you'll find. Our big dependence is on retail. 80% of our business is done through our retail because we're in a small island with a tourist town. So we're lucky enough to be able to crank out the volume through that. We're moving a little bit more in the wholesale now. It's
What's
just
your,
because
what's the brand
demand in
name? What's the name of your room?
we have, well, because the distillery's called, the company's called Chef Distilled. The distillery's called Key West Legal Rum. Because of when we first opened up in 2012 and we were lobbying Florida, we were only allowed to sell 2 bottles per person per year, which they had no way of tracking. So I have 11 different brands, because if it's a different brand, then you could sell 2 more bottles. And that's how we kind of came into the business and circumventing and doing everything else. And
Okay.
and now that they've
Sorry to
kind
put
of
you on
let
the
go of
spot
that,
there.
now that they've, no problem. Now that they've let go of that, we're, you know, we have the brands that we've built over 10 years and people actually like that. It's sometimes for us a little difficult because you got a lot of different SKUs and everything, but we're starting to move into retail. We're doing online sales with a company. The wholesale has just been difficult for us because, you know, we're smaller guys and we don't make as much. And when we can get it out in retail, it makes a bigger difference. So we're going to start pushing and doing some blending and stuff like that to kind of get to some of the other wholesale markets as we progress now into the next, wherever we're going, you know, between
So are you
sanitizer and rum, which we're
Are you currently only in Florida?
correct.
For
Only in
wholesale?
Florida, but I
Wholesale?
do, yeah. And then online retail, I have somebody I work with out of DC. We use a different, I send my stuff in bond and I use a bottler that can get us around that, you know, that can bottle for us and then has the right to put it up online for us. So that's worked out really well, you know, for a smaller guy, not having this to depend on distribution and stuff. But we like to kind of push more in that as the brand. We have a fairly good following now trying to reach them.
What kind of volume are you getting on the online?
It's been, we've only been on the online for like 4 months, and it's probably 4 times of what I thought it was going to be. So it's been, but you know, once again, we have an email list of 38,000 people, active emails. We have a pretty good social media presence and a following. So our customers that visit us in Key West that are spread out all over the United States are buying. So I'm seeing that it's a holiday right now. It's like the honeymoon right now. So as that starts to level out and everything, that's where I'll start to look and see where really I can attract our customers from and stuff like that.
You have a
Well, that's a
bar
great model.
on your location? Do people drink? Do people drink cocktails at your location? Do you have a bar? Is that legal?
Yes, so as of July 1st, of last July 1st, we got that passed as well. So yeah, we have a bar. We have 2 bars, one on each side, no seats, kind of that come in, take your tour, you know, have your thing. And then, you know, we don't want to be a bar. A bar down here in Key West comes with a lot of problems and stuff. There's 143 bars on the island. And I've been in that business, in the restaurant business.
And you got to stay open until
So-
4 a.m. or whatever, when you're that kind of bar, which you probably don't want to do.
Yeah, and you know, because of COVID, we, you know, we're only open 11 to 6, and you know, we cut about 25 hours a week, and we're actually doing more business now than we were previously. So COVID, as bad as COVID was, and having to make sanitizer, and we supplied the entire Florida Keys with sanitizer, really didn't make anything, but we learned a lot of things. I think it would have taken us another 5 or 7 years. So with that knowledge now, as we start to grow. So I like listening to people like you all and see what you're doing out there and kind of how the movements are working and what's trending. Because we have people from every country and every state, and we're seeing some very different trends right now that are in our face that we need to adjust to.
Well, I think the biggest trend that we're seeing and talking about and reading about is the increased expansion of premium categories. People are paying the higher dollars, to drive volumes. That's been pretty significant. I have one speculative. I'm assuming that normally in the summer it might slow down a little bit because it gets too hot in Key West. I guess that with everyone trying to figure out a way to take a vacation somewhere. No, it's going to be record numbers.
We actually get busier because
You do.
the diving gets really good. And last 5 years, our biggest month used to be March. Now it's July.
Wow.
So we're a bit exhausted because staffing down here, all the houses are bought up on a 4-mile island. So if you want to rent a house as an employee, you're talking about $4,500 to $5,500 a month if you want to live with you and your family. So people are leaving in droves. So by this winter is going to be quite a big issue down here. We're lucky enough, we use a lot of military people. So they have their housing, but it's going to be an issue down here for sure.
Interesting. Let's switch over to Michael Bacco, who at last visit was building a brand as well as his continued work, I guess, in sales advisory. Although I think it seemed like you were shifting. What's happening in your world, Michael?
Yeah, well, I'm basically a liquor industry consultant, been in the business for 40 years. And I advise all kinds of companies. I've had clients as big as Coca-Cola, private equity groups looking to make an investment, don't understand anything about the liquor business. And so I'll get random calls there. And I'm involved with 4 different tequila companies now, just the way it happens is a hot category in alcohol. So I'm involved with a brand called Chamucos Tequila. Since I think the last time I was on here, we've signed a national distribution agreement with Southern Glazer, opened up, but we have a 50 market footprint now. Company's doing okay, it needs some funding. But in terms of the liquor industry, the things I'm seeing are input inflation, input bottlenecks, especially glass. And if anybody's got some anecdotes or information on glass, I've been asked a lot about glass lately. And I'm really curious because a lot of glass comes from China. There's obviously a shutdown in China. There's, all kinds of things going on with glass that are a big issue. And overall inflation. In the tequila business, there's a big issue in 2020. Prior to 2020, the tequila business grew at about 7% a year. You could set your watch by it, 6.5% to 7.5%. In 2020, it grew 17%. And last year, it grew 30%. And some people at Southern actually were commenting there's going to come a tipping point where tequila is going to sell more than vodka. And we're kind of on the verge of that. So there's a big agave shortage. If you're not familiar with how tequila is made, it's made from a plant called the agave, which takes 5 to 7 years to come to maturity. And it has to be made with agave. And so a lot of suppliers now are being forced to dig up their agaves or harvest them when they're quite young, say 3 years old. And what do you need to ferment something? You need juice, you need sugar, and you need yeast. And when you're pulling these agaves out of the ground so young, there's not enough sugar in them. So they're adding sugar and then they're flavorless because they're not mature. And so after they're distilled, a lot of companies are adding a flavor to get flavor profile. So for example, if you pick up a Reposado from Casamigos right now and sip it, you could perhaps mistake it for Captain Morgan rum. There's so much vanilla in it It's shocking. And so the primary, so they're making kind of an inferior quality tequila, and they're adding some flavor to it, and then there's a big.
It's the number one seller at Southern Glazers. So
What's that?
I mean, it isn't the number one selling tequila at Southern Glazers. So I don't know what they're doing other than the name, but if the consumer's liking it, then
it's a giant brand. I mean, it's pushing 1 million cases now, Casamigos. Yeah, it's a growth area. It's doing really, really well. And there's a big push on celebrity tequilas. So everybody's got a tequila now. Mark Wahlberg just came out with tequila about 15 minutes ago. And then, The Rock has a product called Terramana, which went from 0 to 600,000 cases in 18 months. Kardashians have a tequila. They're all over the place. So there's going to be a backlash against that as well pretty soon. Because there's a shortage of tequila, and so a lot of these tequilas are made in distilleries that are making 150 different brands, and so there's going to be a pushback at some point against two things: against the lack of authenticity and the adding of flavor, and the celebrities themselves. So that's kind of what's going on in my world. But if anybody has any commentary on glass, I'd be interested to hear what your experiences are with procuring, getting, supply chains, delays, costs, all that stuff.
I don't have a comment on the glass because I'm in the same boat myself. I'm on the wine side, not the spirits, but so everything you mentioned is just like tough to face. So how are you going about launching a new brand when you're facing all these celebrities that have just, I mean, the 818, I know that's the Kardashians. I mean, the Rocks, right. Like all these things, like that's just got to be like hard. I mean, well, what are you doing? Or I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but
no, it's fine.
How do you combat that?
We actually use it to our advantage. There's a lot of Southern salesmen that are bitching about, how do I keep selling all these celebrity tequilas in? What do I talk about? Do I talk about George Clooney? I mean, what do you talk about when you're selling a celebrity tequila? You talk about the celebrity. We have no celebrity. I think our celebrity is a guy named Pepe who works in the distillery in Guadalajara, and he runs the bottling line.
And he doesn't have an Instagram account?
Yeah, we have an Instagram account.
No, Pepe?
Pepe.
No, okay. I'm joking about Pepe. The founder of the company would go nuts if he thought that Pepe was the celebrity. But we actually use it as a point of difference. The product is very, very authentic. We're vertical. We buy our agaves from an exclusive agricultural partner. We have 500,000 agaves under cultivation, and so we have no shortage. So we're using very mature agaves with very, very high bricks of sugar. We put in no flavoring. The only thing in our bottle is alcohol derived from agave and water. That's it. Our bottles are all.
If you said it, what is the name of the brand? I'm sorry if you said it.
It's called Chamucos, CHAMUCOS.
Okay.
Chamucos. And our bottles are made. Every bottle is handmade in a artisanal foundry in Guadalajara from recycled Coca-Cola and Bacardi bottles. We finally found a good use for Bacardi, and so we have a story. We have a real story. There's absolutely no other flavoring in the bottle. So,
question for you: if you're making the bottles out of recycled glass in Guadalajara, why are you confronting a glass shortage?
We're not, but I'm curious because I'm getting questions about glass from clients, from non-alcohol industry clients. Yeah. I had a call with a private equity group the other day looking to fund a wine product, and they said, what's going on in the industry, and I said one of the issues is there's a bottleneck in glass, especially glass coming in from China, and even the large glass companies like Vidrio Formas in Mexico or Savor, they're having problems in their foundries because you can't slot production time. These foundries run at 24/7. I mean, they turn them on and they turn them off 25 years later, literally. And so they're running continuously, and you can't slot production time. So if you need 100,000 bottles, and that takes, a day and a half or whatever, it's a problem.
Well, I think we usually have at least one person representing glass, and unfortunately, we don't have anyone on this month's session, but I will share a few things that I've gleaned from them and also that I've experienced myself and anyone else. I'm sure Stephen, I think, also has been dealing with this. I found that the issue, if you are going to come out of the ground with a custom design, that's the biggest challenge right now because of what you just talked about. There's no production capacity to do that. I have personally been able to find, on behalf of clients, as long as they were using a standard bottle, that we were able to find it. Either someone had excess, or in a couple of cases, I had a glass. There was a major purchase order put in, and that was the glass was supposed to have arrived in 2000, and then they didn't want it in 2000 because they were shut down. And then when it's arriving in 2002, all of a sudden there's 120,000 bottles available, or how many? It was even more than that. And so we were able to secure that. But that was it was a coincidence that was the exact bottle that we needed. And I know that Attila Jew, who's been on here, for months, he's been talking about, in the early going of glass shortages, that it was that same kind of thing. It was trading out glass from someone who had excess glass and was willing to, resell it, sell it back, or, trade. But custom, I don't know, Stephen, you what's your
I don't
latest on
use
that?
custom glass. We're actually struggling with glass right now. We've been looking at similar bottles from different manufacturers, try and play that game. Even, for example, our Curacao right now is in a bottle that's not our standard bottle, but it's close, just for the California market, because we had huge orders and we had to fill them. And so I got whatever I could get, and it's almost the same bottle, but it's not. I mean, enough that bartender just said, "Oh, wow, you changed your bottle." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I didn't. Just temporarily." The thing that's probably hurting us the most right now is we spent years and years building trade ties with the Europeans. The trade war came in, and all that business went to zero. Now that the tariffs have been removed, we're starting to see orders again, but we can't get 70 CL glass in order to fill those orders. And I mean, I'm buying, any 70 CL glass that's even remotely like what I've used in the past, just to get stuff into the European market. So, by the way, if anybody out there has any 70 CL, I'd love to chat with you.
Interesting.
Yep. Anyone else have any on the topic of glass before we move on to another?
Yeah, I mean, my company's having a major problem. One of the biggest problems for us is for a brand called Luna de Luna. It's a blue cobalt glass, and we're going to be out for quite some time,
So
particularly on the magnums.
is it an option to change the glass, or are you just going to be out of the product?
I'll know more next week on the Zoom with Italy, but it's not looking good. But it's just there's just this whole shortage of everything is creating just major out of stocks that are, I mean, all around our country and other countries, and it's pretty bad.
So on the topic of shortages, not on glass, but let's talk about whiskey. I've had 4 conversations in the past 2 weeks from producers of Irish whiskey to a distillery that has a significant amount of Canadian single malt whiskey, as well as production capacity, looking to
And I owe you an email on that, by the way.
Okay, good. Thank you. Looking to, see if they can ride to the rescue, and if there's any, opportunities for them. So I think the challenge that I had in one of the conversation, I did have a conversation with Michael Clancy where we were brainstorming on it, but I've also spoken with others. Is the origin issues, and that Irish whiskey has to be either bottled in Ireland or bottled in an Irish approved TTB Ireland approved facility in the US. But what is anyone thinking, or maybe Stephen, you may be the person to answer this question. In terms of values of Canadian single malt versus American.
And
or-
that's the email
Yeah.
you sent me that I haven't responded to. That's a
Yeah.
really, really, really tough question. We're being approached by people to make American single malt, and we're actually producing a distinctly different single malt than the Golden Moon single malt under contract for people right now. And there's a lot of reticence to buy any kind of volume on the part of certain folks, because they're not sure what it's going to be worth in 5 years. There's no old stock for American single malt. The only a handful of players have anything in their rick houses, and they don't want to sell them. Companies like Stranahan's have been around for a while, and they've got significant volume, but Proximo is not going to let that stuff go. Valuing a 5 or 6 year old Canadian single malt is a guess. It's what, pretty much you have to throw something against the wall, because it's not you can't call it an American single malt.
Right.
It doesn't fit the category, which is a category that we, and I'm speaking now as a member of the American Single Malt Whiskey Commission, it's a category that we are working very hard to educate consumers on. And the Canadian stuff doesn't fit that. It would be risky to try and do something along the lines of what Whistlepig did with rye, where they sourced Canadian rye and put it in a US bottle.
Mhm.
Because everyone that's looking for single malt is either looking for European, whether it be UK or Irish. I know the UK is not in Europe anymore, but it is what it is. Scottish or Irish, or then they're looking for American or Japanese or etc.
Mhm. Mhm.
If it's Canadian, you're going to have to call it out as Canadian. And
Right.
I just
And the question is, what's the value? Right. Yeah.
What people are going to do with that.
What are you looking at for your aged barrels now? Have you? Because I know
We're
we
not
talked
selling
about
any aged
you're not
material.
selling any.
We're
Yeah.
selling new fills, and we're selling totes.
And what are
Everything
you
we
selling?
have
What are you selling new fill for?
depends on the customer and the volume.
Okay. All right. I shared with you what
so
I shared with you prices of North Carolina. Were those higher than yours? Were those?
They're a little higher than ours, but the big risk is the wood.
Mhm.
And so, for example, we're in discussions with one of the majors to start feeding them potentially single malt. I don't know if that's going to work out or not, but one of the things I've asked them to do, because they have better relationships with cooperages than I do,
Get
is
the
I've
barrels.
said, this is the price, and you pay, you give us the barrels.
Right.
We'll fill your barrels and ship them back to your rick house.
Right. So here's your gallon PG price. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, but we'll fill and ship. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm shipping 20 casks out Monday to somebody.
Yeah.
We're still a fairly small producer, but we're actually looking at putting in another large still solely for contract production, because the demand is there.
Mhm. Well, about 4 years ago, 4 years ago, I was one of my clients, one of the early clients in Victory actually was, all right, Justin. All right, sorry, we didn't get more time to put you in the spotlight there.
No worries. I'll see you guys soon.
All right, thanks. They were, the push was get more customers, right? And they ended up getting bought out, and they've got new ownership. And now I know of one of my clients that is contracted with them for all of their capacity for the next that they can produce. And that's how the tables have shifted. 3-4 years ago, a cooperage was still looking for customers. They were trying to sell more barrels. Now they're just trying to make enough to satisfy the demand. And obviously the second factor in that is the actual wood itself. And those cooperages that actually have either own forests or have investments in stave mills, which this one happens to do, are in a little bit better position. But yeah, what are you hearing in terms of prices for barrels in your neck of the woods, and who are you sourcing from?
So we had a sourcing agreement with International Stave Corporation, and like many distilleries, we were told that we're being cut off until at least the fall, if not the end of the year. I actually, Christian Krogstad was here last night, so that's House Spirits, and they were told the same thing. The difference is that they were able to go to Diageo, who's an investor, and Diageo got the barrels. We don't have that luxury. So I called in a favor with the guys at Speyside and just got a truckload in yesterday. No, day before yesterday. But once that truckload's gone, I'm going to be on the hunt again.
Mm.
You know, I wanted to solely use for full size casks. I just wanted to solely use ISC, and that may no longer be an option for us.
Right.
Now at Golden Moon, I use 5 or 6 different types of barrels. So we use 22-liter blood tubs. We use 20-gallon and 30-gallon torpedoes, all of which are custom built for us. The 30s are Hungarian oak, and we're having trouble getting the wood for those. So our cooperage we work with in Sevastopol, California, is hunting for new sources for properly aged Hungarian oak. For the blood tubs and the 20 gallons, we work with a family-owned cooperage in Arkansas. It's beautiful, field-dried American white oak, bent and charred over natural wood fire. Amazing flavor comes out of those barrels. But they're having trouble getting steel for hoops.
Mm.
So we just got a shipment from them that was supposed to be delivered in November, and it just showed up last week. So, and then we use a variety of used barrels, and even the used barrels we're now having trouble getting. So we use port barrels, or California port style wine barrels, and those are becoming harder and harder for us to pull. We have a relationship with a smaller but very, very famous tequila brand. And they're having trouble getting the barrels out of Mexico to us to do tequila aged whiskeys. We were getting barrels out of Europe with Del Professor Vermouth, and we've not been able to get a shipment out of Europe for some time because it's less than container load, and I mean they're 6-9 months backed up.
Mm.
So it's been interesting. You know, we have enough wood to secondary age. Oh, and rum barrels were a problem. We had a relationship with Appleton Estates to do rum finished bourbon and rye using their barrels. And they stopped shipping about 1.5 years ago. We went to Montagna Rum up the hill, grabbed some of their barrels as an intermediary, but her rum is a Demerara that's been seasoned with a little black strap, where Appleton is a full dunder blackstrap molasses rum. Very different product. My friends at Speyside have just put in place a relationship where we're getting barrels through them out of Barbados. It's again another full dunder blackstrap rum, and so I think that problem's solved. But I'll let you know the next time I need to order barrels.
Wow.
So it's all a game. It's all kind of frustrating, and it's feast or famine right now because we're small.
And it's amazing. It's all the things that were not a problem before, the things that were like you didn't even have to worry about. Yeah, it's crazy.
I got a quick question. A standard new oak, American oak, white oak barrel, what's the cost of that now? If you can get it, what are you paying?
If you can get it, it's anywhere from, and everyone, you're going to laugh when I say this because nobody if you've got a contract in place, it's $150 to $200. If you don't have a contract in place, or if you're a smaller supplier that's been cut off, it is anywhere from $250 to $450.
Yeah, I know the lowest price that I know of contract is $195. Most of the people that I'm talking to now are getting quotes in the $240 to $250 range. That's how they're building. And I've got a number of contracted allocations for new fill for 2023, and the way those contracts have now been written is that the cost of the barrel, is based on the assumption that the cost of the barrel does not or is $245, whatever the number is, and if that prior to fill, if the cost of the barrel goes up, that cost is going to be passed along. If the cost goes down, that will be adjusted. And then
that's how we're writing our contracts.
Yeah,
exactly how we're writing our contracts.
And another has a clause in there that says these prices are based on as of this date, and any variance greater than 10% in grains or other materials will be passed along, or any savings.
And you raise a good point with the war in Ukraine, because they're such a large grain supplier to Europe. The
Yep,
entire
yep.
grain market's about to get turned on its head.
Yep.
We're lucky in that we have for our barley, we have a long-term supply agreement with Molson Coors, which is right down the road. So we'll be fine, and or at least I hope we'll be fine. And you know, I mean, they're our neighbors. And I apologize for the dog barking in the background. I've got
We're used to it
construction
by
workers
now.
upstairs, and the dog's not happy about it. But a lot of people are going to be in a world of hurt in the next 2 years with grain,
Mhm.
because all, you know, Ukraine, and not just with the lack of production of grain in Ukraine, but with the interruption from the war and supply chains for grain in Europe, it's going to be a huge problem. It's already
Mhm.
becoming a huge problem. You know, people will be starving in Africa because they can't get Ukrainian grain. And so American grain is going to start drying up because people are shipping it to Africa to feed starving souls. So back to barrels, you asked about cost. I'm happy to share our original cost 6 months ago with the ISC was 185. The last quote we got from them, they'd raised it to 230. And what we got from Speyside, and I told you I had to call in a favor to do this, was they actually diverted barrels that were headed for Scotland to use for organic certified whiskey, because you can't use a used barrel for organic, and shipped them to us, and they gave them to me at 220 as a one-time favor to repay me for some stuff I'd done for them. So I think I'll be paying a lot more in the near future.
Yeah, I think so. Sherman, do you want to change topic, or do you want to?
Well, unfortunately, what you guys remind me of is how thankful I am to be selling picks and shovels to the miners instead of dealing with what you guys deal with. Good Lord. You know, the biggest concerns I have are finding contractors to work sampling gigs, which are just exploding, you know, and that's not a tough problem to solve. We just keep at it and so on. But we are seeing massive growth there. And then the other problem is just technology, which is the world I work in, takes a little longer than I anticipated. So Michael, we're about a month behind our release, but fortunately, you know, we're very, very close. We're finishing an Eventbrite integration this weekend, and then we'll be done. So I'll be able to circle around. And so it's really interesting to hear you guys talk about these issues. For those who don't know exactly what Shared Spirits does, we built the technology, a streaming progressive web app that allows people to buy, share, and redeem cocktails, wine, and beer all on mobile. Deploy those drinks via a mobile text integration. People receive a text, they take their phone in to the bar that's taking part, the restaurant that's taking part. They click a button, sends us a server call, and we know to pay the bar. We call it Venmo for cocktails on the consumer side. And on the brand and supplier side, what we do is compliantly convert marketing dollars into drink credits that get deployed out through their ambassador corps, through patrons of the restaurant. Those drinks get redeemed, and we're finally bringing marketing attribution and first party data and real customer relationships to brands with the people that drink their product, not the restaurant owner, not the retailer, but the people who actually drink it. Yes, ma'am.
How many states are you compliant in? Because this is really intriguing to me. I don't know if I've asked you this question. Really?
We actually all of them, but we are staying out of California. We govern what we do.
I don't have California, but
we govern what we do based on gift card laws. The secret sauce behind our model, and outside of the technology, the legal work was the most expensive, as you can imagine. It always is. But candidly, guys, the reason this is illegal is that we're not selling alcohol. That's illegal. We'd never get approved to do that.
right.
When I send you a $14 drink credit and you take that in and it's branded as a certain product and a certain cocktail with a certain spirit, and it's on that back bar and on that bar menu, you could actually ask for a cheeseburger if you wanted to. It's a digital credit.
So it's almost
to the
like the
restaurant.
Cruvene system, like that are in some stores for a sampling, like it's credits, not dollars.
It's credits. It's credits, and in that 8-point font and our terms and conditions, the customer can ask for what they want. But in our betas, they never do. They actually take redemption of the cocktail, wine, or beer that they've been sent.
Okay.
And then we have a whole.
I don't know how much
Well,
time we have to get into this, but I am curious. So I'm a customer and I walk into the bar and I'm just going to use my own brand, one of my brands, you know.
Yeah.
So this bar is featuring Gemma DeLuna Prosecco for that night. How does that work? The customer walks up to the bar. How does the bartender charge them?
The customer will have already received a text, and they've built a profile in our app, and they show the proper screen to the bar staff that's been trained.
Okay.
They get their drink, they click a redeem button, but the drink's already been deployed out to the customer who shows up at the bar. So this is the way we solve for sampling. And
Wait, what do you mean the drink's already been deployed?
A campaign in our software has already been conducted. So a marketing spend has been converted into drink credit. So if somebody spends 10 grand with us, we've converted a certain percentage of that 10 grand.
You mean the
into
money, not
equivalent
the
number.
actual drink?
The
I mean, the
money's been
bartender's still
converted.
serving the person the drink, the cocktail.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Then you
but the
reimburse
marketing
the
dollars we receive.
establishment.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And we do all that automated with technology.
Is there a, so I own a company and I'm selling a whiskey and I contracted you to do this, to conduct this promotion. What's the feedback loop for me? What information do I get back? Let's say I spend 50 grand with you, and how do I know how many cocktails went out? Do I get any demographic information? Do I
You get it all. Yeah. So first of all, we know who we've picked restaurant partners, on-premise accounts that you want to be working with, and we invite them to come into the network. They have to have your brand on the shelf. They have to be featuring it as a cocktail. We add that into our system, so that drink actually becomes available for purchase from consumer to consumer. But what we do is take a portion of that money. We do an equivalent conversion of a certain dollar amount into drink credits, includes tax and tip. And then we take and add ambassadors or patrons of the restaurant, whomever you want those drinks distributed by. So if you had an ambassador core, if you had distributors in the market that were working your accounts, those drink credits go out to them, maybe 20, 25, 50 at a time. And they're responsible for sharing those with people they feel will go into the restaurant and redeem for your product. And when they take the phone in, we know exactly who's received the drink. We know who they've deployed to. We have their email address, their phone number. We know when they redeemed. We know where they redeemed. And then we have an opportunity then to drive them back to retail to purchase your product after they've experienced the on-premise experience.
You're beyond beta, or you're up?
We're beyond beta. We've done a beta here in Nashville in 17, 18, and part of 19, and we rebuilt the technology during COVID, and are just finishing up that next iteration. And actually, Michael, we're going to market for a whole lot more money than we were the last time I talked to you, because of some feedback we've gotten from other people in the business. So what was a $500,000 ask, we're going to market for 5 million now, because we have to have a national.
It's probably going to be easier. It's probably going to be easier.
I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
And so
you're trying to replace the tasting and demo agencies, or
we're trying to enhance their value proposition. So what we're real passionate about is the fact that you guys and others in the business have sampled people at retail stores and events for years, and you've never, ever, ever known who those people were, whether they bought your product afterwards, and you have no ability to develop a customer lifetime value relationship with those folks. You have no visibility on who they are. So our instead of Drizzly doing this for retail, we have a direct to consumer channel for on-premise, basically is what it amounts to. And
but it also can work in off-prem.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be building a retail channel so I could gift bottles You know, a brand could be sending out 375s if they wanted to through our network and stuff like that. So, but the reason we're kind of avoiding California is because gift card laws, which we govern ourselves by, these credits don't expire under most circumstances. We have to treat them like gift cards. And in California, in the fine print, when you receive a gift card from any retailer out there or any restaurant, you can go in and ask for cash. And yeah, you can literally go in and ask for cash. So we don't want to risk a supplier spend with the customer's ability
Becoming
to
an
go into a
ATM.
restaurant. Yeah, and ask for
Wow.
cash.
I might need a
Wouldn't
field
be-
trip. I mean, I never heard of this before.
It wouldn't be a great metric for us to tell a brand we delivered cash to the restaurant in favor of the
Right.
spend.
I mean, that's
they
why
made.
I'm trying to grasp around like how this is. Okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And, you know, Michael, I don't know if you've seen it, but.
So how do
know,
you
we
pay the
developed-
restaurant or the
Uh,
account, whatever you want to call it?
Actually, right now we do it through Melio, a simple ACH transfer.
Okay.
And they have visibility on all the redemptions and what's still pending out in the market. But
This is really, really,
in the-
really interesting. And how does the
in the-
customer, I'm sorry, again, I'm the customer and I'm coming in and I want to try a glass of Prosecco and you're paying for it. How do I get the credits?
right now, what would happen is if you knew there was a promotion, let's pretend there was a tabletop or a signage.
Yeah,
of
it's 5 to
something.
7 at
yeah.
Carrie's Barn
So
down the
in
street.
this case, the bartender or some hostess or something would literally send you a text. You'd receive a text, you'd build a quick profile in the app, and you'd be ready to redeem your drink.
And once your
So-
profile is in the app, you're able to go and receive the next
Right,
time.
you
without-
might send me to next week, you might send me, I get a bourbon at Michael's Bar or, you know,
Right.
whatever. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in the earlier beta versions, you could just go to the app and shop basically for drink
Who's got the
deals.
free drinks?
Is that
Yeah, we're not a discount model. So there's no real deal, so to speak.
Right.
That's not really what we do. But what we do, we take the restaurant, we onboard a certain portion of their beverage menu. We generally suggest 5 cocktails, maybe a red, a white, and a bubbles, and a couple of beers, just to get them started. And within
Why
an
wouldn't you
hour,
go the
they-
discount route though? Because a lot of, well, here's what I found. A lot of the younger people and a lot of the older people are looking for the deals. So it's like the retired
Yeah.
people know where to go for the food that's like half price from whatever, 6 o'clock or something.
you mean the early
And the
bird?
young people are looking for the what? Well, whatever. I'm not throwing ages out
well,
there.
they're
But I
certainly
mean,
free to
everyone's
do that.
looking for a
It's-
deal. So why wouldn't you go
Yeah.
the discount route? Like steer them towards, hey, if you go to,
Well, because not in every state, discounts are really legal. Couponing
well,
is not
I thought
really
you had a
legal.
profile for each person.
Well, what I'm saying is we have to govern how they post those drinks in our app based on what the state's regulations are.
Okay.
So what might be less expensive gin and tonic is based on the spirit they're using, not necessarily the fact it's a cocktail. So if they want to still deliver a value in the app, they can do so, but you know, they may not be doing it with a premium spirit.
So you're
you know,
pairing up
and
with the account, not the brand.
both. Absolutely both. So
Well, because
when
the
it-
account needs to be set up to be able to redeem it
yes,
and have the
absolutely.
staff trained, and the brand is funding it and is getting the benefit of the data to do follow-up marketing. How much of the follow-up marketing would you be providing for brands, or would you provide them the data to do it themselves?
What we don't provide them email addresses or phone numbers because that stuff has to be maintained privately,
Yeah,
but we
yeah.
will market to the customer on their behalf. So for instance, if we're not seeing great redemption rates on deployed drinks, we'll be encouraging the customers to go in and do so. And that is based on a schedule as to how long they've been redeemed or how long they've been deployed, and so on. When you see the mobile app, it becomes quite familiar. We're updating all the data right now. And it's very intuitive, very easy to understand what we do.
What is that?
The way you could go look at it is app.sharedspirits.com.
Shared
And
spirits?
just be mindful that app.sharedspirits.com. And just be mindful that the current drink mix and venue mix in that needs to be entirely updated. We'll go in and reestablish all the accounts in Nashville starting next week. We're in Dallas, Fort Worth. We'll be in Atlanta very soon. My chief revenue officer's down there. In Vermont. This is various places where we have connections. This is where we'll be. South Florida. I anticipate being in Louisville and Detroit soon. Chattanooga, Knoxville. You know, we've got some places close to home. My partner, Justin, who had to unfortunately leave the call, he has been with Empire. He was with Empire Distributing for 14 years. And this was kind of his brainchild. So we've made this come kind of real at this point.
He was Empire in Tennessee or in Georgia?
Yeah, Tennessee. Yeah, he ran the on-premise crew, most of the on-premise crew for Nashville for many years. This was kind of his idea. You know, we want to be able to allow brands to have visibility on the people who actually drink their stuff. We got the notice last week, Michael, just for brands I don't want to monopolize, but we're in the semifinalist group for Pepperdine's Most Fundable Company.
Oh, good.
And we'll be making a run for that final 16 group again this year. So
when is that happening?
That submission's got to be done by May 20th. And, you know, I'm pulling that together. We got a whole different story than we did last year. So I'm anticipating things to be considerably better this time around. And I can't say enough for this group. The company's being revolutionized by a couple of introductions that have been made through this group. One incredibly key one that came from Andy that's really set us on a path that's quite different. I submitted the company to Constellation's venture arm yesterday. If you guys know anybody who is interested in beverage tech as a funder, that's the kind of connection I need right now. Our vision a year or two from now is that a supplier will be able to go on, self-serve completely, view the on-premise accounts where they're already placed, make a drink spend, a marketing spend, choose the ambassadors they want deploying those drinks, which will all be rated thumbs up, thumbs down, or on a star system by their effectiveness. Do their spend, it'll be pay for performance, just like clicks or impressions. You won't be billed until somebody sits in the bar and redeems your drink.
And what is the fee? I mean, obviously you pay,
we're trying to live in about 60%. We're trying to live in about 40% margin on the supplier spend. So 60% would go toward depletion and 40% would have to come to us to run the program and live in a top line.
You're billed by account or by market?
By drink. You know, really, we could care less what markets it's in if we've got it, one of your on-premise partners. We don't care, you know, where it is.
It's transactional. Yeah.
It's transactional.
Based on the transaction.
Just like an impression or click, instead it's somebody sitting at the bar.
This is really interesting.
Michael's been following us for many years.
Yes, I have.
And has seen the iterations. And I don't know about you guys. One thing I love about Michael Bacco, your story, is it takes a good story, and I've had to relearn my own damn company over and over and over again, and the story will probably be different 2 years from now than it is now. I don't know about
the
you
consumer,
guys,
the market is different than it was.
Yeah.
You know,
well, that's what we've heard. We had our our best operator here in Nashville came back. This is really related to you guys as well. Our best operator came back from a restaurant tech conference a couple of weeks ago. And he said he sat through every demo and he was just curious. He wasn't going to buy anything. He comes up to Justin and he says out of the blue, hey, we need to get on your platform as quickly as possible. And he said, well, tell me more. He said, well, I sat through every demo at this conference and nobody's really come up with what you guys have come up with. And that's kind of terrifying and encouraging at the same time, because pioneers get slaughtered, settlers get rich. And, you know, I've dealt with 7 years of being slaughtered. I'm kind of ready to get rich now, but you know,
Yeah.
Who isn't?
Yeah, the slaughter part is tough.
That's why you've got to make the move. And I think seeking a bigger number, and I think you have a better chance, even if it ends up being the suitor that acquires the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Oh,
we
Michael
got-
Clancy is.
Hey, Michael.
Oh, he's in the bar.
Good afternoon, all. Yes, I'm in our Slingshot Gin School here in Dublin. So,
Oh, show us around.
yeah,
Awesome.
So here we go.
Slingshot
This is-
Gin School.
Yep. So this is us here. You can see, and basically behind.
So is that basically is a bar, or is it
I think
actually
it's
education?
fast translation for pub.
So what it is, it's a bar. It's a bar normally, but what we do is basically we have we transform it into a gin school. When we have sessions booked in or whatever. So we have you'll see these can you see them up there? We have the 1.8 liters or 1.5 liter stills. Can you see it up there? Top? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we have a number of these. So basically people come in, they choose the botanicals, and we give them a stills all set up with alcohol in it, and basically they distill their own bottle of gin, and then they have to dilute it back down to bottling strength, whatever. And yeah, it's with fantastic timing. We opened this in November 2019 and had a great run into Christmas, and then you know, we were just kicking off marketing it again in in January, February 2020, and then, you know, we ran our last sessions in it on the 12th of March, I think, 2020, and we've had 3 or 4 sessions in it since. So we're just kind of kicking back off again here. But it's a lovely space.
So it's in Dublin. So how does it work? You schedule these gin school events, and people pay a fee.
Pay 100 euros, come and do a class. It's about kind of 2.5-3 hours, and they, you know, so they're kind of guided on the background and history of gin, how we make our own gin, and basically then they you know, we kind of talk about the different botanicals, and we have a selection of about kind of 50 different botanicals that they can choose from. We give them a recipe, we give them the kind of guide rails to stay between, and basically they pick out the botanical selection they like, and then off to the stills, and they'll distill their own bottle of gin. So yeah, it's good.
So is it, but they're creating their own based on your basic alcohol. So they're doing the botanical finishing.
Exactly, yeah. They're selecting the botanicals, and we've kind of given them sort of saying, yeah, use this kind of range of juniper, this range of angelica, this range of coriander, and then pick from these different kind of flavor groups. So and pick, you know, don't put more than 0.5 gram of something else, some of the strong ones in or whatever. So yeah, it works very well. People like it. It's just a good kind of hop off point for our slingshot brand in Dublin,
Mhm.
which is kind of, and it's in South Dublin as well, which is kind of, it's a good kind of demographic fit for what our brands are. So
But that's a creative experience.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely, yeah.
unfortunately something we can't do here in the US.
yeah, well, tell you what, you'll have to organize to do a trip over, and you can all come. We'll have
Field trip.
Well, I
Field
mean,
trip,
I
Drinks
still
Professional
have a
Network,
contract with the blokes
trip
down in Kildare, so I'll be back.
yeah, so we'll have to
So
organize.
Stephen, in the US, you can't do it because
So
even if it
you
was
can
at a
run
distillery?
classes, you can run classes, but anything that leaves your facility must have a TTB approved formula and be in a TTB approved package. So the problem is that if you're letting people design their own gins, it's not legal to leave your premises.
So they
Okay,
can only consume it. on
No,
premise.
you can't even consume it. It's
Ah,
till TTB approves that formula. Now, could you drink it? Yeah. I mean, we
Yeah.
sample all the time,
Right.
but selling it and giving it to a consumer without TTB approving that formula would be a violation of US law,
okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting.
unfortunately.
So now, Michael, that's a business opportunity for you. You know,
That's
to
a
create
business opportunity for me.
some tourism destination. You can't do this at home, but come to Ireland where you can make your own gin.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's
And we'll ship you a pallet of it.
yeah.
Share with your friends.
Yeah. No, that's, and like we have spoken with tour operators who are bringing kind of people, corporate groups and stuff like that, who are coming to visit Ireland for a week, and they're looking for stuff to do on a Monday night and a Tuesday night for 15, 20 people or whatever, and this is perfect for that. But yeah, that you can't do this at home in the States is actually a great hook, really great hook. Yeah.
I'd like to come. All right, we're all going to schedule the first Friday of an upcoming month. We'll have it in Dublin. All right, we'll just have to coordinate our calendars.
Awesome.
Yeah, super.
I hate to start everybody.
I have
I
not
just looked at
been.
the time. I got to run. I apologize.
All right, Stephen, thank you. I'll look for your email.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's actually pretty fascinating, Michael. And it would be an interesting thing to figure out if there was a way to do something like this in the US. I'm just thinking what Stephen was saying about you have to have the recipe approved, but I'm wondering if you could get approval for a recipe that approximates, like you said, suggested ranges. Of it. But in the meantime, it's good for you if it can't be done here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, definitely, it's something to target, because we have a couple of kind of tour operator guys that we work with and talk to and whatever, and they're bringing people in from the US all the time.
Mhm.
But this is an additional kind of selling point for this that I wasn't aware of until now. So there's
Mhm.
always some little nugget in.
It keeps you coming back, right? A little nugget that keeps you coming back. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining. This is great. I want to. I know a few people have jumped. I assume, Sherman, you noticed that Paul is interested and wants direct contact. Did you see that in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got that. And I guess anyone else want to raise any other topics?
I had a quick question for Carrie. Carrie, you're in the sparkling wine business as part of your portfolio?
Yes.
What's happening with domestic sparkling wines now?
I'm all Italian.
Okay.
Domestics aren't seeing the price increases that everything in Europe is, but I mean, I think we all can agree, like everything is going up. I mean, my dog food went up $5 a bag. So everything is going up, but I think everything coming in from Europe is really where we're just seeing the hit.
How's the sparkling wine category in the US overall?
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, my sparklings are all Prosecco's, and so they're very more reasonably cost. It used to be champagne was only for a celebration or a special occasion, but I think there's so much more affordable sparkling now to go around that I was out last night And 1, 2, 3 of us were drinking Prosecco-based cocktails.
Okay,
I would also say that I've noticed, and I don't know how this translates to the actual sales volumes, but I've certainly noticed a plethora of sparkling rosés. There used to be
Yes.
just a few, and now there's a whole section.
I have
Uh,
3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
there-
noticed
there's-
that. I actually went to Whole Foods to pick up a bottle of sparkling rosé, and that's yesterday when I noticed that there's a whole section
Yeah.
and then some.
Just a quick bit of trivia, an emerging subcategory in tequila is rosé tequila.
Really?
Yep.
Well, okay. That's interesting.
It's aged in used wine barrels. There's a brand called Cadigo that kind of started it, and now it's popping up.
How does it get its rosé-ness? Like,
I'm assuming from the
I
wine
mean-
barrels.
Yeah.
okay. So it's not, there's no kind of grape skins or anything involved like that.
No.
It's just a color pigment thing.
Right, right.
No, it's wine
Interesting.
barrel. We have a gin. We have a barrel of gin, and again, this is just a little experiment we were doing in our small distillery, and it was to do a number of people over here have done barrel aged gins, and so we decided we were going to do one in kind of January 2020 with a view to having it available for sort of fairs and things like that we were consumer events that we would be doing in summer 2020. Obviously COVID came and there was no fairs and wasn't any in 2021 either, but this has aged absolutely beautifully. So it's now 2 years old, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It's
So it's pre-pandemic aged.
yeah. But it's
That's going to be the new label.
So it's an aged gin, but it's like aged for 2 years, and it's gone way beyond the kind of touch of color and little bit of flavor that you would
Aged
get.
longer than COVID.
Yeah. So, but it's a very complex spirit now. So I actually had some Germans into the distillery the other day who arrived just literally on spec, rocked up at the door, and they tasted, some of our whiskey series, and they tasted this. I just gave them a little taste of this as well, and they came back and emailed me back afterwards and sort of said, like, these guys bought 6 bottles of whiskey, right? 6 bottles of expensive whiskey.
Wow.
And but they emailed me back and said, make sure you tell us when that gin is ready, when you have that in the bottle, because we want to buy it. So it's a complex spirit. So yeah, that's an interesting one.
There's definitely rosé vodkas out there. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
Some of those guys have a different story of each one. I don't know.
Yeah. Have any of you come across color changing gins?
Color changing.
Yeah.
Change by temperature or by
pH. So when you add tonic, the color changes.
Huh. Haven't heard of
Like
that.
to what color?
Yeah.
So basically, I'm gonna try, just rather than try to email myself a video. I'm gonna just show you, see if I can show this, if I can do this on the phone. Yeah, I have it actually here. So can you see this? Probably the color won't be great on it, but if you watch this, watch the color in this. It's kind of a purpley blue.
So it starts as purpley blue?
Purpley blue, and then, yeah, that's playing. So we're gonna add tonic to it. You'll see it in a second.
Well, how does it start purpley blue?
So it starts, it's a pigment that we add to it.
Oh.
So I just want to double check that's playing. Wait a second.
So you're the one creating the color.
Yeah, sorry, 1 second. It's just this thing where it's not downloaded onto my phone. I just want to get it playing first, and then.
I think it's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah. So you add tonic to it, and it
Becomes clear?
No, it changes to pink. So it changes from kind of a blue to pink.
I was in the Hamptons last year and they did some drink. It was a gin drink, but it was some kind of flower petals that they put in it. And then when they poured in the tonic, it did turn into a purpley color. But that didn't have anything.
1 second now.
I don't believe to.
You
I
think
don't
that
know.
was more from the flour?
It was, but it was, if you put those flowers in water, it wouldn't do it. It was something about the whole like reaction.
Give me 1 second till I get the connections to Wi-Fi here. I mean, just in this gin school, they because it's an old building, the connection can be quite bad because there's a lot of steel and stuff around. There's a steel roof in here.
But anyway, the point being is you put the pigment in the gin.
Yeah.
Then when you pour the tonic in, that's the reaction that lightens up the color.
Yeah.
Have you done consumer testing with it?
Yeah, no, there's been a number of brands in Europe have got this already. And kind of a customer came to us looking to know, could we make this for them? And so we're going out to, there was a pigment that was doing this, but the pigment isn't approved anymore, or was never approved.
Yeah.
And the products have kind of disappeared. So, but we found another pigment that does it. So through some of my previous connections, I knew a professor in Germany who was into this particular area of research, and I contacted him, and he was able to point me in the right direction of what I should be looking for. So,
Michael, have you heard of any in the? I've never heard of changing color gin. I've heard of color. There's plenty of purple
Colors.
gins.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. What is it? Empress? Empress is purple. You know, yeah. Interesting. All right. So the video's not working yet?
not working, no. So what I'll do is I'll send it on to you, and you can circulate it.
Perfect.
Yeah. So it's quite.
Do you have
quite
is that
quite
a product that you're actually? You said you were approached by a customer. Are you creating a branded bottled version of that?
So the customer, our customer, will be branding this, and
It'll be their product. Okay.
Be their product. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have enough going on.
That sounds pretty cool. All right. Any final thoughts from around the group here? I guess, Stephanie, we want to recap what our plan was in terms of the September target.
Yes, so we will be distributing from the conversation last month for membership. We will be distributing membership agreements. It'll be the end of next week as I'm going to be out for a few days. But we won't have, a membership will start, but we won't start any charges until September.
And that's also because we want those of you who are on board with being members to tap your networks to see who else might want to be sampling some of these programs. And Michael, I don't know if you were on the call, but what we've decided to do is to create a nominal annual membership fee of $300, I think is what it was. And that the purpose of it is we want to create an ongoing marketing budget. Victory Spirits has been promoting and will continue to promote, but we wanted to build an ongoing marketing budget so that we can expand our reach to attract new people from the industry in this, so that we maintain this balance of, we want the core, we want the veterans. I'm calling them the founding members, which are represented largely in our groups. And generally we've been having, 2 to 5 new people in meetings, but about 15 regulars, and we want to maintain that, but we want to make sure that we're getting, because every time we bring somebody new into it, it does provide some greater networking opportunities. It obviously also provides them with value. And so I think that's the goal of this, is striking that right balance, where I think we're feeling like, I know that there's now we're starting to have a lot of one-on-one contacts with members of the group outside. I emailed Stephen, Michael, and his brother and I did a call yesterday. Michael Clancy and his brother Peter, and so we're seeing that, and we want that to continue for everyone's mutual value and mutual benefit. So I appreciate all of you continuing to participate and share, and hopefully benefit from these sessions. So. As Stephanie said, she'll be sending out that, it's not complicated.
Yeah, simple.
It's yes, I am a member. Yes, I will.
Yeah, very simple. Exactly.
There won't be a lot of fine print.
That's right.
There
No
won't,
age
there won't be,
weight
there won't be California gift card fine print.
Right, exactly.
You can choose to spend the, right.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, everyone have a great weekend.
Likewise.
Mother's Day weekend and the spring weekend and what have you. And
Hope to see everybody June 3rd.
June
Talk
3rd.
soon, folks.
All right.
Take
bye.
care.
Thanks,
Later.
everyone. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.